What's going on, traders? Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Wanted to go ahead and do some analysis for next week on the E-mini S&P futures as well as NQ, the tech sector. Before we get into it, of course, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and in no way should be viewed as financial advice. Before we get into the charts, let's look over the economic calendar for this week. Looks like we have another light week ahead of us, but with some Fed speak again to deal with. Luckily, we did not have too much volatility from them last week. However, we did have the contract rollover in futures, and that gave us some nice volatility in the markets. So let's get this economic calendar up and take a look here. All right, sorry, it was taking a second to load. Let me close this. All right, let's see what we have in store here. All right, coming to the end of the month as well. Here on Monday, right at 8:30, we've got Goolsby speaking on TV, and then Daily speaking at 2 o'clock. Bowman speaking on Tuesday, 7 a.m. We won't have to deal with that. Cook speaking at 12 o'clock there on Tuesday. No more from the Fed there on that day. Wednesday, nothing. Tuesday, we'll just keep an eye on initial jobless claims, and we do have GDP coming out. So 8:30, that will be a bit interesting to watch how the markets react and what those numbers are. Friday, we close out the week with PCE coming out at 8:30. Barkin speaking in Paris, okay, at 6 in the morning. And we have, what else do we have here? Consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock, and then Bowman speaking at 12. So pretty light week ahead. Nothing really too much to worry about. So I like to see that. All right, so let's get into some charts here. And we're going to start off with ES and the weekly chart. And we have definitely some selling pressure here coming in. You can see here how we did briefly make a new high, came back down. Going to see this gap here with the contract rollover, but things really structurally all stay the same here in that, excuse me, unless we see price. Now, of course, we're looking at the weekly chart here, so keep in mind these are going to be much bigger ranges. But unless we really see price start to break under here, there's really nothing structurally to start to worry about, right? So, I welcome any pullbacks, from a longer term perspective, because do I really want to be a buyer? And we've kind of been talking about this. Do I want to be a buyer up here at the highs? No, not really, right? I would much rather look for a weekly lower high or a daily lower, a daily higher low, excuse me, to get in here. And and you can see here now, this obviously won't always stay, but on the weekly chart here, you can see structurally how nice of a confluence we actually have with the weekly 9, right? So that would be, a great potential setup for us into the end of the year. What's another structural area that we have been watching? We've been over that, and I can kind of make this a little box, right, like that, right? The next area, of course, would be down here that we are also going to watch, right? And that's going to pretty much line up here with our 20. So here are two big areas, of course, that I think are totally fine. If we start to break under, of course, this one, then we'll be a little bit more open and susceptible to coming back and retesting this major structural area. But of course, one step at a time, and we're nowhere near there as it stands. So, but either way, I'm going to be watching still, and we have all this mapped out. But at 5,400 down about 53.75, 53.40. This whole zone here is that first major area that I want to pay attention to. And other than that, what I am looking at here is the main question is, can we defend these weekly lows, right? And that's going to be right in around 54.80, what is this, 89.75, right? So we need to defend that. Otherwise, it's still kind of, we just made this breakout, right, from this flag, and we had this huge run. So otherwise, we're really likely to, from the weekly perspective, still go sideways until either A, we make our higher high, or we come down and break out of this area, and then we can talk about potentially testing down a little bit lower, and we'll get into the daily chart here in a moment. But let's just pull up our chart that we have been normally working with, and you can see here, and let's actually just break it down here because it's really not, the weekly hasn't updated here. Okay, here we go. All right. So you can see, this is a lot clearer for us. You can see this was the previous balance, right? Right here. And where did we come back and we retested? Boom, right into it. And then we did find some buyers, right? So unless the bears can really see price moving under here, it's going to be hard for them to really get that sell in, right? And where would we probably sell down into? Well, of course, we're going to look at the weekly lows here on the 17th, right around that 54.88, we can call it, somewhere in that area. I think that would really open us up then to probably come down closer to the 54.60s, 65, maybe into the 70 area, the high side. But that would be the next likely spot that we would trade back down because we broke into this balance. Maybe we, it's very, where is that? Okay, it doesn't really line up there. We might stop around 85 or so. That's also a potentiality. So I would say, though, if we break under 55.17 half, and if you really want to, we do have whole number right underneath as well. So we'd definitely have to pay attention to that 55.50. But we break under that, and I would be looking there for the 80s. Under the 80s, we would probably come back down here into that 54, 54, 53 area. I would say would be the most likely area here. Retest the top of this prior balance, right? We've really just gone balance to balance to balance here, kind of one timing up. So we're gonna look at that, right? Boom here, boom here, and here. And so what are the bulls gonna need to do? Well, ideally holding over that 5500, 55.17, right? Anywhere in that area. We've got the daily 9 right there as well at 55.08. But we just need to be mindful that in here, and it's certainly tradable, right? We're looking at a higher time frame here. You've got 55.17, 55.20, all the way up to 55.62. So, it's still about 45 points. But you just have to, keep in mind in that environment, right? And it's kind of been the same song and dance as I've kind of been illustrating here. So what's going to have to happen for the bulls, right? They're going to have to attempt to make that new higher high, really get some acceptance over this 55.62.75. We could even round it out and just say they got to hold over 55.63. If that's the case, we'll go ahead and attack, right, this 55.85. We get over that, I think we'd be free and clear for 5,600. So that's kind of what I'm looking at from the daily perspective here. It's so, from the bigger picture, again, unless we break out of this, 40, 45 point range, it's going to be tough to see a real quote unquote big move. But once we get over, then, it's, then we can go up to those new levels or lower levels. Either way, you can really see how that's kind of played out. And of course, the bulls have been in control because they've broken up higher and gone each stair step, the whole way. So, we have obviously seen some pullback, especially more in the tech sector, and we'll certainly go over that. But the S&P has kind of held up rather a little bit stronger. So, all right, let's take a look here at another point of view. A couple of things I wanted to look at. Let's look at this from, let's get the TPO here out. Okay, there we go. Wait, why don't we have this? All right, let's look at the TPO charts here. All right, and where do we close? Right, 37. Okay, we closed here. So, from this viewpoint, I would say that we would want to see price, right? If we see price hold back over, right, the low of the 18th, which is 55, or the session low, which is around 55.40, right? We see a recapture of that, and price pretty much closed just below it. So we see recapture that right here. We see some of the auction fill out. I think the next logical level would come back up. Look to see if we come up and retest right into the low of the 19th, right around the session low is going to be around 55. We can call it 55.60. So that's what we're going to look for on Monday. If we do stay underneath, right, the session low of the 18th, the sellers we're still vulnerable here. You can also see value area has been moving low. That quad witching session, we mostly traded here in the lower part of the range of the session from the 20th. So we could be also forming, from this view, sure, like we could be kind of forming some type of a flag here. The longer we hang out down here, I would say that would be more bearish, right? If we hang out, we start seeing the auction fill out over here, okay, that's a little bit more bullish. And, that would be a little bit more encouraging, I think, for that case. But we do have value and POC and VPOC shifting down here on ES. It does look, and I would have to say that, we're going to have to basically just be a little bit cautious here, because we still are, as I mentioned on the higher time frames, that we're in that kind of chop zone, right? So I'm gonna wait. Even if we do recapture this low here, I'm gonna look for maybe even a 30-minute hourly, maybe even a 4-hour confirmation before I would really feel confident about that move up higher. Because as it stands right now, any poorly positioned longs in this area, or that got in this area, granted, they may have been stopped out, certainly right here. It's possible they got stopped out underneath the low of the 20th. But there's still, more than likely, excess inventory hanging out all up in this area. So, we just have to be mindful of that even if we're coming up here, they could still be selling into any momentum and just, again, give us that choppy price action, right? We try to break out, we try to get up there, we come back up, maybe even we do peak above. Either way, if we do still see, price action here over this level and we get a nice 4-hour close or something like that, I really do think, though, that would be the more likely target. If not that day, what is that? It's not even that far. It's about, 15, 13 points or something like that. So could it do it in today? Sure. It might take 2 with ES, but we'll see. All right, let's move along. Let's look at some day trading levels now on the E-minis. Let's get out of this. Okay. I could almost even, just looking at this off, I could almost make a little, whoops, that's not what I want to do. almost make this look like a little bit of a diamond bottom kind of situation kind of going on here. We'll see what happens with that. That's a bit interesting, but either way, we're sitting here. All right, we're on the 15. Maybe I don't want to be on the 15. Interesting though, POC right at this pivot here. So I would say that's interesting. But let's go into the 30-minute. See where POC is. All right, well that's a little bit more interesting to me. Okay. So, all right. So as long as we're holding over, we're going to see where we open. But for me on ES, as long as we're really holding over this 55.35, now we're getting a bit more granular with our levels. This 55.35, we'll call it. All right, we still have chances here to trade up into this 55.41. Not much, not much juice on that squeeze, but if we do then start to consolidate, whoops, wrong, if we do actually get over and start to hold here, I'm going to look for trades back up into the equal highs, right around this 46 area. 55.46 thereabouts, and if we get back over, then we'll look for the next equal highs here. Very likely target, I think that we could see potential Monday trading to come back up into these equal highs. We also have volume point of control right here, as well as the 200. Nice setup. I think we could come into this area. This looks a little off to me now that I'm looking at it. As long as if we can get over this, I definitely think that this is going to be a big target here for us on Monday. This 55, 50, 75 area. Also a very nice potential short. We've got some levels of confluence here with VPOC and the 200 and this equal high here. But if bulls are able to get back over, I would look for around 56 thereabouts. Look up into these equal highs. We might not get all the way here to our pivot. Might just stall out here, but that would be my next target. And also, about 50% range retracement right from these highs here. That's about 50% of the move. So that would make sense as well. High watch for me for that potential move on ES. I would have pretty good feeling for at least the 55.50. We'll have to watch out with all that inventory above, as I was speaking before, selling into some of these pops. So these, of course, also all could be offering a short opportunity, from that viewpoint as well. But for me, I'm not really interested too much into the shorts unless we really start to break underneath here, right? So let's look at some of the bearish side. We break under here, then, again, here, not much juice on the squeeze, but we'd probably come back down into these equal lows. A lot of fake outs and traps in this area, as we could see, but we did have quad witching on Friday, so that was kind of to be expected on that session. But if we really start to see acceptance under 55.30, I could say 55.29, it's going to open the door to attack here these areas once again, and down in the 55.24 area, low 20s, right? We start to get under that, and I think it would be very likely we're going to come in here and test that open of ES right down at that 55.20. If we get under that, well, then I'd be looking here at basically 55.7 or 55.15, 55.13 there, that area. So there's my plan for ES, and we will see what we get. Hopefully we break out of this range. Definitely interesting with that potential diamond bottom though here. So this, I'll probably post about this because this is interesting. We'll see if we get some price to break out and come up and right up in here, and then maybe we get our 50%. Yay. Check mark. Okay. So, all right, let's move right along here. And let's get into the NASDAQ. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. It's all gonna look like like this. Ugh, gross. Okay. I do not like... Ugh. All right. That's fine. Okay, so... Same thing here. All right, we're going to be watching, this candle a little bit more suspicious on the week than ES. We were talking about the tech sector being a little bit weaker here than the E-minis have been, and you can really see that illustrated in the difference of the candle being produced on the weekly. A lot stronger selling pressure denoted here by this larger upper wick, much smaller body here for the bulls. Still green though, so we did close higher than the open, so that is one thing that is encouraging. Of course, okay, same thing again. Got to be watching those weekly lows at that 19.9, basically 19,900. And we start to really get under that, okay, then we're going to start to be looking a little bit more vulnerable, potentially starting to chew through some of this, weaker structure potentially here on this weekly candle, which may just bring us down back into here, retesting these highs, right? Retesting this balance zone that we're watching that gave us that breakout, right? We came in and we had price coming in, resting after this rally, flat top, and then boom, this was obviously a lot from CPI, and we'd come up and made these new highs here. So, that's all well and good. We can easily come through this. I mean, not easily, but I mean, it's not a problem if we come through this. Doesn't really concern me from the weekly perspective. Again, same situation. We could even come down into here, into here, into here, and and of course we'll take it one step at a time, but really no threats overall as we take it as we move higher. That being said, same thing with ES though. We have been watching. Now the weekly here is starting to fire, starting to get a little bit more in that overbought territory. So we're starting to flash it here finally on the weekly chart. Now again, we can see how long it's traded and can trade even way spicier. It's only starting to enter the zone now into about, I think we're only seeing readings, what is this, 11? So, we can go up to nearly 15, high 14s. So we're not there, and it can stay there for an extended period of time. But one data point that we certainly want to note as the weekly is coming back up into this area again on the higher time frame, of course, much more meaningful data for us to be paying attention to. So, all right, let's get into the daily chart here a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit easier kind of to see everything, so we don't have that gap from the rollover. That should go away by next week. All right, so, oh, and I forgot, I didn't think I updated this one. So we've still got the daily 9 right underneath us here at the 19,877. So we still have that. Not a big deal here. So it's still just a daily higher, lower high, everything being said. So nice pullback here right into this. And this really can just stop freezing. Why is this freezing? Just give us a springboard right off of it. Right. Let's see if we go and touch it this week. Really good setup for another nice opportunity. Although I am, more from an intraday, even if we're having a real bad sell day, right? And we come into it. We're going to look, though, here still. We have been peaking on that overbought territory on the daily. So have to pay attention to that. As momentum here is starting to just shift a little bit, but it could always turn back, right? We saw a little shift here, then it came back strong, and when we were going up sideways, it was really kind of just choppy right here when we're looking at these readings. A little pullback here, nothing really too much. This one had a little bit more follow through to the downside, but either way, short-lived right off the zero line. So it's starting to come in just a wee bit. So we just want to pay attention there. But as far as the structure is concerned, same situation here. Unless we came in, where did we closed above this, and from the daily structure that this is a good thing. Right, because this was the prior balance breakout, right? We've had that same situation, right? Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Run, rest, right? Range expansion, compression, expansion, compression, expansion. Now here, this is a little bit more interesting. Right. Expansion pushed up. Well, here we looked above. Manipulation failed back down. Right, we got that sell. So, from this view as well, when we were talking earlier about the inventory, the supply on ES, we also have a very defined here on in Q. Really, from this view, as long as we stay below, and what is this? The 18th low, which is 2127, and that was one of my targets I've been looking for. I think we'll hit this Monday, I think, or at least maybe Monday, Tuesday. I think we're gonna hit this week, but unless we stay, at least test it. Unless we get back over that, it's gonna be a little tricky. I'll just put it out there like this. Right. As I still think we'll come back and test it, but we'll have to see here. If we can get over, then we can start to get back inside of this balance, and then we can deal with potentially that. And then, of course, if we get over, right, these equal highs here, then we can go ahead and attack, right, this all-time high again. So we'll see. It will be interesting. So let's pull up. We can leave that on there. Let's pull up our other one. And we'll map it out. Okay. Boom. And boom. There we go. Whoa. This one could be a little bit lower. There you have it. So we'll see what happens here. Which side will get it? That's going to be the question. So we also want to be aware that we could, end up doing something like this. And if that's the case, watch out for those fake outs, where we break back under, and then go all the way back, look under, and then come all the way back in. It's just going to be a nightmare. So again, if we're looking for that, we got to see, I got to see, 2 or 3 days, and you can even get faked out on that. But a couple of days, close from this bigger picture perspective, um, you know, to really get that confirmation. So right now, we're in a bullish but cautious bullish kind of framework, in my opinion, or at least for me. Now, what can expose us here? We start really getting underneath this 19,875, right? We start taking out the highs of the 12th. Got a bit of an issue there, right? And then we can look for trades to come back, probably down, and retest 19,755 area. I would say this looks a little bit off. But we get back over 20,020. Then we can start to trade back up into 20,200. Thereabouts. That's what I'll be looking for. All right. Let's go into... Let's look at TPO here a little bit. Let's switch it up. Another couple. Okay. And all right. So where do we close here? Right here at 09. Okay. All right. So let's see. We gotta see. We gotta see, the structure here is just ridiculous. We gotta see price back over 2050, right? 20K, 20,050. Really hold over that. Okay, then we can come in and attack maybe 25 points higher. We get over the session high of the 21st. And then we can look to trade back up into that 2730 area, which I was mentioning earlier, which I think we can retest. That would be the lows of the 18th. So I'll be watching for that. Right. From this perspective, the longer we stay underneath here, and again, all up in here, these are all... Where's my... I'm trying to do the right tool. All sellers are all people that are trapped. Stopping momentum. Granted, some, same situation. Some got stopped out. Sure. But poorly positioned longs all up in this area. So, really we're going to have to see the bulls get back over 2030. Then, all right, we can start to look for trades up higher into basically 2200. Right. So, we'll see. If we stay under here, we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable to attack 19,960 area. And then potentially back down all the way. We almost got there. Oh no, Friday. So if we're underneath 19,960, look for them to attack. Look for them to attack the low 920s and the figure again. That would be my guess. Up over. I mean, we really, because this was kind of a fake here, so you gotta say. Normally, I would say over that 50. I think over the 2050 is gonna be a good sign, but we're gonna have to break over the high because it's just the tech's weaker. It's gonna take more. So we break over that high at 70. Again, we'll come up to that. So those are our plans here from this point of view. All right, let's get a bit more granular and look at just the other day trading levels. A lot of levels, but it just depends on how you like to trade and what you like to look at. And I just personally blend them all together to make my own thing, and that's what I suggest everyone to do. Okay. Same situation with that potential diamond bottom here on NQ, but a bit weaker, obviously, as we're not over this. Damn, we spent all this time down in the lower part of the range. We stay under 2075, right? Of course, 20K is what I'm talking about every time, right? Under 20K 75, we're still vulnerable, right? Where I was trying to get, this was, I think, Thursday. I was trying to get us fucking to get over it. Or was this Thursday? Yeah, we were trying to break over this. I was looking for this move. I wanted to see us come into 100 on Thursday. We just never got there, right? Right here, we just right and just couldn't do it. So now I've got 3 basic equal highs here. This is the structure that needs to be broken to come up into 100. We get over 100. We're looking for 20. That was that area that I was talking about before that I think we can retest, which was what I was really looking for on Thursday, to be honest. It just never happened. So, that's what we're going to need to see. So, yeah, there's certainly trades here I like on the 30-minute. We've got the moving averages here curling under price. That's good. Right? This is starting to peak up a little bit. Still vulnerable, though, right? We can still look for that potential. I don't really like the risk reward personally for me, but still vulnerable here to come up into the 20s. May just get a sell right back down to here. We break down to there. We attack those equal, these equal lows again. Right around 19,960 area. But the risk to reward for a short I like a little bit better. We trade up into 20,050. Right, we trade up into 50. I like that a little bit more, because then maybe we can come back down like this. And then the obvious other short is we break over. And certainly, maybe, in here, it's kind of just like a no trade zone, right? Wait for confirmation. Well, it's not the right tool. Get some of this, right? Then you can get maybe, what is this? 20 to 21 points or so. Maybe we break over and we can look for that trade. Whoops. Break over and look for that trade, right? That's not bad. 20 to 75. I think I did that right here on Thursday. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did this. I was in this trade, right? Oh, no, wait, no. Maybe it was this move. Either way, that's not bad. And then you're out most here, the smallest size here, because you don't know, this is such a big level. If not, that's a total TP. If not, you know, you're holding one or two, you know, smalls. Then maybe it breaks over, maybe not. Certainly, definitely a short, a definite, another area where I'd have to consider a short. But you could also make the argument, right? They tried to break it down how many times? Now we're coming up for the 4th time. The odds might be that we break over it more in the 4th attempt, right? So, a little concerning on this push. We couldn't even get all the way, though. Got close, because I remember I was in this trade trying to get up here. Okay, so under, though, I feel a little bit safer. You know, where do I feel safe in the short? I don't even think I could feel safe under this short here. And again, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And value area lows here. Probably need to see some consolidation underneath 19,960. And go ahead and try to attack the 30s, 16, and then that figure at 19,900. So that's what I'll be looking for. All right, guys, let's move it right along here. Let's look at the dollar really quickly because we've had some interesting developments in that as it continues to move up higher. We were talking, though, last week. I do think that the market has kind of acclimated to the dollar being a little bit more elevated in the recent times. Of course, it's not as elevated as up here, but this just seems, and we've mapped out the range, and I'll go back to that graphic here in a moment. But actually, let's go into that now. You know, the range here. So you know, this the market's gotten used to this, right? I think once we start to get out of this comfort zone, then it can be a little bit more of a pressure on equities. And again, as we've spoken, if we start really seeing some weekly closes over, right, this range, it'd be very likely that we would come to 110 again. Maybe 111. More likely to retest up here. But until then, you know, but we have to pay attention to what's going on. Whoops. No. Right here. You know, we've got this compression coming on. And we had this downtrend right here. Now finally broken out over all the moving averages. Now, where's the bearish case, right? Swing high, lower high, right? Vulnerable, coming into some resistance. You can see right here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Structure. Coming back. Look what happened last time. Came in to retest previous structure. Boom, back down. Coming back up. Okay. Right? So that is a very likely scenario. In addition, that we've got kind of getting spicy here up on the daily. So I think that that's what it's going to, we might come up a little bit higher. And if we do reject here, that's going to relieve some of the pressure on equities. We'll probably see that bounce. And we can see those targets to the upside that I was talking about on ES and Q. So that'll be good. So I think that that's probably the more likely scenario. I'm actually curious what this looks like from the weekly view. Interesting. This hasn't even ticked green. That's interesting. But still room here on the weekly. I don't think it's going to break it personally. However, I must say I am surprised that the dollar has held up so well. And, you know, we've been kind of, you know, on the video, we've been bullish more or less the dollar for a while, since 102. So we'll see. TNX, though, has been interesting because yields kind of been falling off. Right? Tried to come up Still staying under our 43. As long as we're under 43, for me, nothing. I mean, what does this look like? An H, right? Bearish consolidation here. Maybe this gives some credence to IWM. So far, IWM has been a shit kicker. So, as you know, as it's notorious for. So, so far this downturn in rates hasn't even helped IWM do anything. So, let's see. From here, as long as we stay under, when we attack the equal lows, 41 again, we can start getting under that. We'll mark that off. A bit of some levels there. Right. We get into that, we can look for the next leg. Otherwise, it just might hang out here. But if it does, it's still bearish consolidation. We start seeing price over here. All right, then we can start to see it might move up. And okay, over here, then we've got a different kind of song and dance. Maybe we come up and retest this trend line. I'll draw it out if we get there at that point. We're not there yet, though. So another thing I wanted to point out, what we don't normally look at, oil futures, a couple of things actually. Oil futures, okay, it did pull back here, but making a nice move back over 80. Okay, we were seeing higher readings earlier in the week around 81.80. Starting to get a little bit interesting to me here on oil. Recapturing the trend, moving back up. It's still vulnerable again, from the daily structural perspective, unless it started really getting back up. We started seeing it trade up over here, attacking these equal highs and then hanging out over these equal highs. And still, even at that point, we could see, 90 again. But we're not there. Either way, though, this move is interesting to me. We have to pay attention to it from the inflationary perspective. I'm watching this very closely. Look at the 200 here. All these EMAs starting to converge. I think we'll probably just end up running sideways a little bit more. See if we get something into this apex. We will watch this closely. But this move in oil is not what we really want to see from a macro perspective. Another thing, we were talking about the transports a little bit in the last video and kind of what it meant for the economy overall. And another thing I wanted to bring to your attention, and again, these are macro kind of observations. So the timeline for any of these things to play out are very speculative and kind of unknowable. However, we were talking about the transports last time in the video, or maybe it was 2 videos ago. I don't remember. And they have been bouncing. Okay, still vulnerable. But what do we talk about what this means in the economy, right? Transports, what's going on? Are people sending goods, commercially, also personally? This is not a good sign here as far as what's going on from the industrial side of the market. What's going on in the backbone of the economy, right? Kind of the manufacturing, the shipping, the goods, the trade, I should say, that was the word I'm looking for, the trade overall that's kind of going on broadly throughout the market, right? And now what else are we seeing in lumber, right? And what does this mean? Now this, we're talking about building, right? Not only residential, commercial, right? The price of lumber is definitely something that I like to look at, that's also kind of giving me a little bit of an insight of what's going on under the hood, just like transports, of the strength of the economy. The fact that we've seen it selling off like this, I don't really like that. Now again, we've also been talking a little bit about the yield curve being inverted for over 600 days now, which is really quite unprecedented. Again, macro stuff here, so the timeline on this these things are, again, I cannot say, but we just need to be aware of these signs and just be prepared for weakening in the economy overall. So let's watch that GDP. Let's keep an eye on the jobless claims numbers, non-farm payroll, all that kind of stuff to really just take a bigger look on what's going on underneath the hood. And I hope that some of these, little tips and tricks kind of help you along your journey as well. And so this is definitely one of them, looking at these lumber prices to kind of gauge what is kind of going on from that other perspective, from the real estate, commercial, and industrial. You'd think if people are using up wood, building a lot of new things, well, the price would be higher, right? And it's just not. So, okay, interesting stuff. Food for thought. We'll keep that, little feather in our pocket. Okay, that being said, the Dow, we're getting a nice little bit of a rotation here. I would have to say, now overall, yes, the Dow's here is bouncing, right? We were talking about the transports being weak, came in here bouncing, still vulnerable, still certainly vulnerable potentially on the Dow, but we want to also pay attention to these potential market rotations, things like that going on in the market. We've seen some things like Walmart make all-time new highs. So let's just pay attention to some of those slower moving names into this week and pay attention to that potential rotation that we could be seeing in the broader market. And I wanted to... That being said, here we go. That's what I wanted to do. The Dow overall right now is just in a range. So let's also keep that in mind from the bigger perspective. Wow, this is just matching up with value area highs perfectly. All right, this is balanced. Okay, so but as long from the macro perspective here, from the daily, as long as the Dow holds over 3,900, we can call it, more than likely, I would suspect that we would see higher. Quote me for, I think we could probably see 39,700 on the Dow. As long as we hold over 3,900. That'll be my call for that. But again, rotation. We're seeing tech come down, and look at the strength in the Dow really kind of recapturing. So keep that stuff in mind. That's our job also, as traders, to see those rotations, those cycles, and, then we know where to maybe focus our day trades. Maybe we don't want to be trading Apple. We want to look at something else in this type of sector, or index, I should say. All right. VIX. What's going on in VIX land? Still holding over 1270. Just, flat. Nothing really too scary here. I still think that, from this view, it's still, I'm going to watch for something like this to kind of form here. See price kind of come on and dip under or something like that. But as long as we hold over 1270, we could say that, we're not really in the complacency zone. Complacency is a bit under that. So, as long as it holds that, man, we have the chance to potentially curl up a little bit here. But, we're under 15, under 1575. No big deal. Just a little baby pullback. So, nothing really for VIX that bothers me any. What's going on how many stocks are trading over their 50-period moving average? Oh, well, look at this. Okay, I like what I'm seeing. A brief little move, not much, but we did close the week over the 50% line. So I love that. Compressing here. We're going to set up maybe a little pull in here to the 50, and then could it be? And we see readings up in the 64% again. Let's see. Looking good. We start falling below 50%, watch out. We'll look for potential weakness here in the E-minis. The 200 slower to react. Just kind of struggling up. I like looking at the 50 more. Gives you a little bit better view. Quicker view. New highs versus new lows. Flat. Nothing really showing us much here. Under the 0. Could be dangerous, but not too concerning overall. Okay, bonds looking good here. Right, look at this. Broke out on the downtrend, came back. BRB looking good. Well, actually, well, I must say, good SPY coming right into this trend line like a gem and stopping there. This is a bullish divergence. SPY down like this, HYG up like that. This is a nice data point for a bounce on Monday or Tuesday. I like that. Or just in the early part of this week. I could think that is a likely scenario based on this little divergence here. Let's look at the rest of the bonds. Bond ratio heading down. All is good here. Let's make another. For now, let's call that another level. Good. This is good. Holding over this. I like it. Let me do this. Okay. Oh, let's look at TLT. Now, there was a little something I had a concern about TLT, I have to say. Seems to me, well, we were talking about 94. I think we called out this level. And we hit it, but now we've double topped. We can make the argument here, high and tight. Sure. Let's do that. But got to get over 94.70. 93.70, but really as long as 93.40 holds, I'm not really too concerned with TLT, but we have to watch out for this potential equal high double top here. This, because under this, then we've got a bit of an issue. So watch out if TLT gets under 93.30, 93.25. That can start seeing daily closes. We've got an issue, and TNX probably moving up. So we'll watch. I think still this is pretty much bullish consolidation still over this high. So, but definitely a threat here. Potentially. The other thing is that we're getting a bit spicy, seeing a little bit of those overbought readings here on the daily as well. So keep an eye on that. But overall, I still think we're going to bounce. Kind of already been over the Dow and transports. Oh, well, I think that does it for us. Yeah, we're done. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you are a first-time listener and enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Turn on that notification bell every time we post new updates about the market. And for all the loyal subscribers and listeners, watchers, really appreciate you taking the time to prepare with me every week for this market. Remember what we say, a prepared trader is a profitable trader. So let's trade our plan and plan our trades. Wishing everybody a great week of trading ahead. Let's kill it, and I will see you guys on the internet webs. Have a great rest of the weekend and take care.